Hari Om everyone. Hari Om. Hari Om Vijeta.
Hari Om, Swami ji. Uh, so, to everyone, tomorrow is International Yoga Day. On that occasion, we are doing this live video with Swami Swatmananda. If you have any query related to that, you can ask your questions over here. Swamiji, today I want to start with starting prayers as we are doing living the yogic way of life.
Yes.
Okay. We'll do 3 times Om.
Yeah.
Okay. Om. Om. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकारेषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरं हरि ओम स्वामी जी.
Hari Om.
So Swami ji, most of us we don't even know the exact meaning of yoga. So, can you please tell us about what exactly it means?
Yoga means to join. Yuj means to join. And yoga means to unite. So that science which is in the Vedas, which also Maharshi Patanjali expounded through his Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which helps us to integrate our personality, align our body, mind, and intellect, to unite them, and so that finally we come to discover our true self as though unite with the divine. That science is called as yoga. It's a subjective science.
So, Swamiji, is it yoga or yog?
It is neither yoga nor yoga. It is yoga.
Yoga.
Yoga. Yo and then ga. Yoga, in that ga has a a ki matra, and yog in that ga is half. So it should be yoga, because that is how it is there in Sanskrit as well as all in the mantras that we have. It is yoga. When we add visarga in Sanskrit, then come yoga. So one should call it as yoga, not yoga.
So, if we pronounce it wrong, how does it change the meaning and essence of it?
See, some things where we see in Sanskrit that when, suppose we say the word Shiva, so Shiva is Bhagwan Shiva.
Yeah.
Shiva, if you say, it will become Parvati. Same way, when we say Krishna, it means Bhagwan Krishna. Krishna, if you say, it becomes Draupadi. The meaning changes. So in yoga, yoga is a masculine word. Now we're making it yoga into feminine word, unnecessary. We should just keep it as yoga. If we have more difficulty, say yoga. Easiest to say yoga. Instead of yoga, we say yoga
Yoga.
is easiest.
I will try to pronounce it right. Yoga. Till then, I'll try that. Because of English, this confusion keeps on happening. So, so what are the different aspects of yoga?
Different aspects in the sense when we say yoga as a science, which is Ashtanga Yoga, that Maharshi Patanjali spoke about, then there are 8 aspects to that. The ultimate truth is to realize the consciousness, realize the self, and towards that 8 steps are given, which become 8 aspects then. Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. They are the part of Ashtanga Yoga. Each of them, so they are preparatory steps. So five values each are there in Yama and Niyama. Then Asana is only one aspect of yoga, where one sits in a particular posture, or not even sits, one is in a particular posture, Sthiram Sukham Asanam. One remains steady and comfortable in a particular posture. And when one gets the asana siddhi, then slowly one is able to go deeper within. So then pranayama one starts doing, then one learns to withdraw the mind. So yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, withdraw the mind from everything external, away from the body, away from the prana also. And then focus, dharana, focus on one support system, and then contemplate, dhyan, and finally it leads to samadhi, absorption in the truth. So that way, these are 8 aspects of yoga.
So, Swamiji, 8 aspects of yoga. So, we all want to know, like these days in the modern world, it is all about physical postures which are being taught. So, is it so big? What you're saying, 8 aspects. So, it's just one aspect of that. So,
Asana is only one aspect of that, and that also requires preparation. Many people don't even bother about the preparation, and I'm not talking preparation in terms of warm up, etc. I'm talking in terms of yama and niyama. They are set of five values. You know, so there is brahmacharya, satyam, ahimsa, asteya, aparigraha, swadhyaya, ishvara pranidhan. Like that, there are 10 values. One should learn to follow those values. That is the first preparation. Then, of course, whatever else one wants to do, warm up, etc., and then start yoga if one wants to do that way. So, asana is only one step.
so um, asana is only one step. But what exactly is the purpose and goal of yoga so why are we doing this? So we are not clear with the purpose and the goal of why we should do that. So can you please explain more about the goal and the purpose so that we understand the importance of all the 8 steps? And if we have time, I would really like to know a little bit about everything so that everyone understand. And if you can please tell from where we can actually read about it and follow. So it would be really good for everyone to know about that.
So, the purpose is given in the Yoga Sutras itself. So, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras today it is one of the Shad Darshanas. It is a philosophy. Yoga is a darshana also, which is derived from the Veda only. And it is a darshan where the purpose is given very clearly in the second sutra itself, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, to control the thought modifications in the mind. And ultimately, when that mind has become quiet, tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam, to abide in the nature of the self, which is the seer, which is the witness of everything. The main purpose is that. before that can happen, because to quieten the thought modifications and then to abide as the self and detach from the not self, etc., one has to align the personality. So all the other steps which are there, yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, all these will help to align the individual first, to bring
BMI,
the
body,
body,
mind,
mind,
and
intellect
intellect.
into alignment. Because if I do that, then I will be able to function to the best of my capabilities as even an individual, as a personality. Today, the mind is full of so much of stress, worry, tension, anxiety. The bodies are not in sync with the nature. The biological rhythm of ours, the circadian rhythm, is gone for a toss. And now, with all that, how will we perform to the best? The pressures are so high in the world. We need to perform to the best, but we have not tuned up the equipment. Purpose of yoga is, one purpose is to prepare ourselves first, to align the BMI. And once that alignment happens, then one can go deeper to inquire about who am I, etc. So the 8 steps are meant for that. And so that's why it is a proper science, and one has to cultivate, step by step, all these 8 steps properly. And when one understands this as a science, then one approaches it also with that level of seriousness, maturity, sanctity. It is not just meant for how people have done today. Yoga is a source, is like a fitness regime. So I want to do Surya Namaskar has become most popular. Interesting thing is neither Patanjali's Yoga Sutras nor the Vedas explain about Surya Namaskar.
And about
Even-
Chandra Namaskar, Swamiji, new trend, like I have started to know about Chandra Namaskar
Yeah, so
also.
both have now come into being. Surya Namaskar, I am told that Raja of Aundh, he uh, created that, and then around 1920s, 30s, somewhere, it is he who set up those 12 postures, and then he ensured, then it was taken up by the yoga teacher Krishnamacharya, and then his disciples B.K. Iyengar and others, and it has become quite popular. Now people are doing that as a weight loss kind of practice, or to get zero size, zero waist, and all that. So that science which is most subtle, which is to align the BMI as well as to get me in contact and unite me with who I am truly, now it has become more of a gross physical practice. So one has to come out from that, and that's why it is important to understand that what is the main purpose. The main purpose is to know who am I truly, is to live as an integrated individual, because if the BMI is aligned and integrated, then there is happiness, maximum productivity, good relationships. One is able to choose wisely, attain what one wants to. So that's the main purpose. Source, I already told you, is the Vedas are the main source of yoga as a shastra, and as a philosophy. 6 schools of philosophy are there. In that, one is Yoga Shastra. Darshan Shastra is Yoga Shastra. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras become the source. There is Hatha Yoga Pradipika, there is Gherand Samhita, like that. There are different books which one can refer to if one wants to study in depth about Yoga Shastra. And as far as the 8 steps are concerned, yes, Yama and Niyama. Yam literally means to control. So Yama and Niyama together are a set of 10 disciplines. And those 10 disciplines will get the mind in a certain level of control. And when that,
Preparation. Yeah.
huh?
Preparation.
Yeah,
This
so
is a
that,
prepare. Yeah.
yeah, so that is the preparation.
Yeah.
And so when a person follows that, those are value systems. So Satyam, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Satyam is truth, Brahmacharya is to preserve the vital energies of the body by living in moderation and by uh, following certain self-control. Ahimsa is non-violence. Then Asteya is non-stealing. Aparigraha is not to have too many things with us. Then there is Swadhyaya, which is regular study. Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to Bhagwan. uh, tapa, which is austerity. I'm missing out two more. They are totally 10 preparations. Asana is actually, again, to keep the body in such a way that a person is able to sit for a long time in steady contemplation. The purpose of
Should
asana
not
is that,
become it should not become a barrier. That is what
yeah,
you're saying.
the body should not become sick, or the body should not be restless and, fidgety. So one is able to stay in an asana for a certain time, and specifically in the dhyan, when one is able to sit still, if the body is still, the mind can become quiet, and then one transcends the mind to realize the self. That's the purpose. So sthiram sukham asanam. So be still and align the breath and the body, and then slowly align the mind to the breath and the body. So now that is how the BMI will come into alignment. And then one contemplates. For that, one has to withdraw. Pratyahara is you withdraw the attention. So all the senses you withdraw. So you are not seeing anything, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. You have withdrawn the senses and the sensory thoughts. So some people may withdraw the senses, but the mind is still
So
imagining.
there,
Pratyahara
there
is
are
to
ways
withdraw the
to
sensory thoughts.
so
Yeah, there
Swamiji,
are
there are
steps.
ways to do that.
All
Okay,
ways are
steps to do.
there. The Shastra gives all the ways, right? For each step, there are ways how to do. And then you channelize that energy to a point of concentration. That is dharana. And when you have attained a certain concentration, then you contemplate on the meaning of the self, what is real, what is unreal, etc. And then you absorb the mind in samadhi, and that's how one will realize the truth. So those are the 8 steps. And that's the purpose, finally, to know who am I.
In these days when everything is misleading, a lot of misinformation is there, and it's a very fast paced and technologically driven society, Swamiji. So, how can everyone, each one of us, even me, so whenever I try to do yoga or something, I feel an incompleteness that it's just one step, and I want to know everything and do step by step. That's why somehow I don't do. So I really want to know in that case that so people don't have time to read books and shastras and everything. So how can we make it easier for them to know the truth and everything, like how we should do all this? That's
If you
my
want to
question.
know infinity, you need to be ready to put in the effort. Everywhere shortcuts cannot be given. That is the trick of the mind. Shastra has to be studied. If you want to know the depth, study the scripture. If you say that, okay,
So it's
I
not
don't
for
want to learn
everyone,
about,
Swamiji.
of course it is for everybody. Who says Shastra is not for everybody?
I mean, you need a lot
Patanjali's
of
Yoga
patience and everything.
Sutra is a simple, is a beautiful, today so many commentaries are available on it. You want to know the absolute truth, you must put in the effort that is required. If one says, no, I don't want to put in the effort, tell me quickly, I will realize Brahman. One will not realize. People have put in years and years of effort to quieten the mind. How many years have we put in to destroy this mind? Think about it. Every minute we
Yeah.
are destroying this mind, and we want a simple shortcut by which we can quickly come out of it. It won't happen like that now. I need to put in the right effort to study, understand what it is, have the right discussions with people, slowly incorporate those practices in my daily sadhana, see the way in which the body and the mind are adapting to it, slowly push the comfort zones of the mind and take it more and more. Suppose I tell you, if you want to lose weight, yeah, you need to just run 20 kilometers a day, and for 1 hour, 2 hours, if you do in a day, you will lose weight. Will you be able to start running 20 kilometers a day just like that?
No, no,
No,
no.
no. Today we are in fast-paced world. Swamiji, I don't have time to learn about running and warm up and this and that. I'm just going to run. It will not work now. There is no way that that can happen.
Or
Then
else I can just do it for one day, next day I will not be able to do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yoga also is a science, and one has to approach it with the completeness. And it is possible. Are there not people who are doing it? They are spending their time to study, to understand, to incorporate this in their daily sadhana, practice it, and you see the benefit. And the best part is, each step when I'm practicing, there is a great joy one will experience. There's a joy of staying still in an asana. There's a joy of withdrawing. There's a joy of focusing the mind on the mantra. There's a joy of absorption in samadhi. There's a joy of following Satya Ahimsa Brahmacharya. There's a joy on every step. Why am I depriving myself of that joy and of that integration? If I want to jump from ground level straight to the 10th step, how is that possible? It won't happen. And
So,
yoga as a shastra, as a science, please learn from a proper qualified teacher.
exactly.
Don't
My
start
question was
jumping
that.
it, so just start reading some books. It can be a beginning point, but practice of it in terms of postures, in terms of pranayama, in terms of mantra, in terms of japa, in terms of, dhyan sadhana, let some teacher guide properly. Otherwise, I may unnecessarily land up in many challenging situations.
So we need after first of all we need to go and read about it and then find a good teacher and
Otherwise,
step
it
by
cannot.
step observe everything.
Yeah, you can read about it, find a teacher, or you find a teacher who will help you to read whichever way. But get anchored in the scripture. Otherwise, there are enough people who are teaching yoga, but they have not studied under the yoga shastra. They don't know the full goal clearly, and then one gets misled.
uh, can you please tell us about the concept of yoga and bhog and how can they go together?
Yoga and bhoga technically cannot go together in the highest sense of the purpose of yoga, because yoga is to turn the mind within and to be free from thought modifications to realize the absolute self. Yoga chittavritti nirodha and drashtu swarupe avasthanam. That's the purpose of yoga. And bhoga is complete extrovertedness, full body identification, destruction of pranic energy, as well as indulgence out there. They are absolutely opposite. They can't go together in that sense. But yes, if one wants to say that, okay, at a simpler level, my bhoga can be based on yoga in the sense that I will enjoy that which is not hurting and harming my body, mind, and intellect. I will take sattvic food. I will engage my senses in sattvic ways. I will ensure that I live the values of life, the yama and niyama, etc. So that when I'm going through life, I enjoy it also, but I am not hurting and harming myself in that sense, whereby I can align the body, mind, intellect also, enjoy in a certain way. And the important aspect is then to see the limitation of that. Bhoga vritti is going to only produce limited result, temporary pleasure, enjoyment, and it is going to leave more craving, it is going to leave more tendencies to exhaust and enjoy more. So the mind is going to remain restless. I have to see that very clearly, that even sattvic enjoyment finally is a limitation only, and I need to rise above it. So at one level, yes, yoga and bhoga, we may say, can go together if one is following the principles and living a sattvic way of life. But ultimately, it is to rise above all bhoga vritti and to realize the self. That time, yoga and bhoga cannot go together.
So when we see yoga as something related to the fitness concept, then in somehow people try to connect both of them together, but according to what 8 aspects you have told, I don't think this could be a question over there,
Yeah,
because the first thing is only yam and niyam.
yes. So it is not possible to have that type of connection. People are doing anything in the name of yoga, and they've made it into bhoga vritti completely. Hot yoga and kitten yoga and cow yoga and whatnot people are doing. Early morning frog yoga, and they have just spoiled the entire thing and made it into such bhoga vritti. That is the exact opposite of what yoga is telling us to do.
Yeah.
Be
So
a
you
yoga
told
That is the worst thing I heard somewhere. Beer yoga. I mean, you drink beer and do yoga. I mean, what level of degradation is that? And it's an insult to the word yoga. People should protest against it and tell them to stop using such expressions. What is beer yoga? That you drink beer and do yoga? Or you do yoga while drinking such and sips of beer? What nonsense is that?
I never heard about that,
Yeah,
Swamiji.
it is there. You check it out.
So if simply I can say, according to me, what I can understand is it being in the present moment fully? Can we call that also yoga?
One aspect of that, by living in the present moment fully, meaning what? If you are abiding in the observer, I am the infinite consciousness and everything else is a illusion that is happening around me. If I'm abiding in that, then that is called being in the present fully, where I'm observing the mind also. I'm observing the things happening around, and that I is the consciousness, which is just the observer. Then that is yoga. But if I mean by being fully in the present, that okay, I eat some nice food, fully being in the present, that is not necessarily yoga. That way, though, I can enjoy so many things and be extroverted and say, I am being a yogi. No. The yogic way of life is to know, to abide in my true self and then operate from there. That is yogic way of life, actually. Being in the present, where I am able to pull away the mind from the past regrets and future anxieties and bring it into the now to work with focus, to some extent one can say that is yoga. If one is focusing on the present to do one's duty. But if there is indulgent tendencies, if there is greed, ambition, anger, jealousy, love, I mean lust, all that, then we can't call that as yoga.
So, according to what you have said, Swamiji, yoga is a cure to everything then. So, emotional mastery, like all of us are facing anxiety, stress. So, as you have told that our mind will be quietened by following the steps, can you please specifically talk about how through yoga we can deal with anxiety, stress, and everything?
See, there is there's different steps of yoga, which if I follow, I can handle all these well. In fact, I can set every step you can follow. Yam Niyam itself, if I follow well, so much of my anxieties will go. Because there is Swadhyay, there is Ishwar Pranidhan, there is Satyam Ahimsa Brahmacharya, all that. If I start following those, the lack of those values is where I am getting stuck. And I am going through anxieties and tension and all that. If there is clarity of practice of asanas, and I'm able to regularly practice asanas certain time in the day, in a certain way in which it has to be done, my mind will become quiet. If I'm able to do pranayam, anulom, vilom, pranayam, and so many different types which are there anyway, but the basic, most simple one is anulom, vilom, pranayam. If I'm able to do kapal bhati and bastrika and all that, also one can do. Practice of pranayam itself will ground the mind so strongly, because mind and prana are very strongly connected. By controlling the prana, we can control the mind. And today there is enough and more awareness about this, sympathetic nervous system, asympathetic nervous system, and all that. And through pranayam and simple deep breathing, also how the relaxation response will be activated. So today scientifically, the the research has proved many of that. So every step, if I practice dharana, how they will say you focus on the flame, the tip of a flame or a dot on the wall or mantra. Now, if I practice every single day or even a few days in a week, the practice of dharana can be done, then I'm training the mind to go away from the past and future and come back into the present. Again, it will help to anchor the mind well. So each step actually, even one step, if I practice properly, it will help to get emotional mastery, to anchor the mind well, to overcome anxieties, and ultimately it is surrender to Bhagavan. That is the best cure, and that is what is yoga. And in fact, many people have that misunderstanding that yoga is nothing to do with religion. It is not
Yeah.
Hindu. There is no God in yoga. There is. Ishwar Pranidhan is there, and Ishvara definition you should see what is given in the Yoga Sutras. Is the consciousness which is present everywhere, the very source of the whole Srishti, that Ishvara, to them we surrender. So there is that aspect, which is the Hindu roots are there for the Yoga Shastra, and there is the surrender aspect, there is Ishvara, there is Shraddha, all that which is there. So if I follow that steps, it will help me to anchor.
If you are not a Hindu, so yoga is for, so you said it's for everyone. So if you are not a Hindu and if you don't follow these like the scriptural backings and all that, can you really do this? Can you really do proper yoga? You,
The yoga as a shastra is to unite you with the self.
yeah.
Yoga Shastra does not speak about forms of Bhagwan. Yoga Shastra speaks about the science of sound. Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, it says. The indicative symbol of the Supreme is Omkar. Pranava means Omkar. Or it also means that consciousness which pervades the entire prana. So, one, what is that consciousness which pervades the prana, which enlivens the prana, which makes the body, mind, intellect function, which enlivens the whole world? That is you. To know that is the purpose of yoga. So it is not saying that you believe in Rama, Krishna, Durga, Devi, Ganesha in that sense as a form, but it is indicating the consciousness to you through the sound symbol of Om.
Om. So
And
Om is
through this
important.
philosophy, yeah, to chant Om is important, to understand Om is important. And if you say, I don't want to chant, that is your call. Focus remains on how will you do dharana, that you have to figure out then. Focus remains on consciousness. When it says in the third sutra that tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam, to abide in the observer, that is the main purpose. By emptying the mind of all the thought modification, that is the main purpose. That anybody can practice. Now, if you don't want to follow the symbols given in the Hindu scriptures, you find your symbols and practice. That is not a problem. That is your choice. And it is not that anybody who, our Hindus want to claim, ki, dekho, you attain this because of ours. No, you want to follow, you follow a certain practice, and you want to attain, you attain. Same self is there in everybody, and there is no
But
problem
somehow,
at all.
Swamiji, they changed the whole concept, like when it got westernized and everything. So now even we think, so we never had like made an effort to read our scriptures and instead chose the easier path to watch social media and follow what is going on over here. And in some way, you know that some of them will be seeing that. So how can we change that content and how can we generate the faith in our scriptures and not outside, because they have changed the whole concept, as you said, that deer thing and all that.
The only way is to understand ki what I am listening, what is the source. Question the source. From where is this coming? What is the real source? What you had asked in the beginning. Okay, when I understand the source, then I have to go to the source. And once I go to the source, then I will understand the whole science of it. Then I will be able to follow. And in some ways, through social media itself, right now, like how we are having this conversation, whoever is listening to it, whoever will listen to it, if they are inspired and they go back to the source, then our job is done, that we have connected them to the scripture. And once you have the scripture, it's like a guide map in your hand. You can open it and you can find out, okay, this is what is said here, and then this is the destination, these are the steps, this is the way to move about it. And of course, you have a teacher to explain that with you, then that is the best thing to do. So awareness has to be created more and more through the same social media by encouraging people to think, is this what yoga is, and what is there in our scriptures, have discussions, have various types of interactions, and create more awareness. That's the way it will go about it, right? That's how people will again come back to the source.
So
And that is again important. Now, what The practice that we are doing is leading me to what? Finally, what is the result? If I follow a particular, let us say, map, the destination where I reach, if I reach that, that means the map is true. So many people have reached the destination of realizing the self by following the Yoga Shastra as well as the injunctions given in the Vedas. So that means all those things are true. What is the destination that somebody is going to reach if they are not following the scriptures? First, find out, ask them that if you are not anchoring in the scripture, where will this lead me to? Where will beer yoga lead me to? Where will this hot yoga lead me to? For what is that? If I
We
don't
need
know
to
the
question each and
destination,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
question the process, question the destination, question the teacher also. That how much has the teacher learned? What has the teacher? What is the background of the teacher? How much here is the practice of the teacher? All that. If one doesn't do that, then there are chances of getting misled.
Uh, so modern society, like how it has misinterpreted or limited the concept of yoga, how can we retain the authenticity in a globalized world?
See, globalized world it may be, but I have to be rooted in my culture.
Yeah.
Why is the so globalized world does not mean that everybody has to follow certain standardization. That is the mindset of the West. Consumerism mindset it is. Standardize everything. So everybody will wear the same type of clothes. You look at the diversity, they have killed diversity in across the world in that sense. Look at the color diversity that we have in our Indian clothes, in the food that we eat, in the prayers that we do, in the language that we speak, in the way in which we celebrate festivals. What level of diversity and colorfulness and the use of human potential is there? So when we say globalized world, then we start thinking in terms of standardization. Everybody should follow same thing in same way. Sorry, diversity will be there in the world. That is the beauty of different cultures. So retaining our Sanatan Dharma's beauty, diversity, we should practice yoga because that is what adds to the beauty of the global world. Just imagine if everybody is following only one language, one type of clothes, one type of food, finished. It will be so boring, dull. Why do people travel? They travel to see different cultures, different people, different language, different mindset. So global world is global and beautiful because of diversity. Please, we have to understand that. And we have a certain process which if we follow, anchoring in our yogic traditions, and our yogic tradition is also very vast. What is given here in the Yoga Shastra, Patanjali's Yoga Shastra, is only one aspect. Yoga does not limit to that only. Yoga, as I said, is the science of the self, uniting with the self. There is Karma Yoga, there is Bhakti Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga, there is Raj Yoga, there is Ashtanga Yoga. So many different types of yoga are there. Different temperaments of people can follow, finding out according to their temperament any of these systems or a combination of these systems, but each of them are anchored in the scriptural tradition. So if that becomes clear to everybody that I need to find my temperament and based on that I need to choose a particular yoga or a combination of certain yogas, and that way we will be able to fulfill the purpose of yoga also, as well as retain the diversity of yoga, the beauty of yoga, and not reduce it only to certain set standard physical postures. So knowledge is important for this, and acceptance of various paths is also important. That all of them can don't have to follow exactly the same thing.
We celebrate every occasion for some meaning behind it, and we have duties. So we have a right to enjoy those occasions, but also we have duty towards it. So on International Yoga Day tomorrow, what are your expectations from the youth? At least, like, I will not say that, we'll just start doing reading the books and everything just suddenly, But what are the expectations from your side we all can do, and how can we take pride in our own culture and this whole science and everything? So please enlighten us on that.
See, first and foremost, if I can understand that what is the purpose of human life, International Yoga Day is also one opportunity to think, okay, what has to be united to what? What has got disconnected that has to be reconnected? We have got disconnected from fundamental purpose of life. We have got disconnected from the basic values of life. We have got disconnected from the inner peace. We have got disconnected from our tuning with the divine. If I understand all this, and because of all this, there is stress, worry, tension, anxiety, purposelessness, drugs, depression, suicide, all this is happening. If I understand ki on the International Yoga Day, first I need to understand I as an individual, where all I have got disconnected, and do I have an urge to connect back to those things? First is that. Then how do I connect? Prioritize it. As you said, we can't start doing everything immediately. Then prioritize, ki, okay, at least let me find out an authentic source. Where can I go and join? I can learn about this. I can get my destination clear. I can get my temperament clear so that the path which I can take to the destination, that becomes clear. So the destination and the means and my temperament should become clear. That is the second aspect. Then the third aspect is slowly incorporate in the daily life the values that yoga tells us and start doing the practices also. Starting with various asanas, different pranayams. If I can bring my body into a cycle as per the Yoga Shastra, as per the circadian rhythm, to sleep early, wake up early, then that will also be one of the beautiful things that I can do that will set right so many challenges. So, like that, I need to start small and gain the clarity, gain the knowledge, reflect really. Otherwise, one will take a few selfies, one will do Surya Namaskar quickly, one will do some pranayam, put it on Instagram, put it on social media and say International Happy International Yoga Day. And one may do whatever one likes that way. That is not a problem. But the issue is, okay, have I really served that purpose? Having, suppose we say, okay, I am born in Bharat, it is such a great privilege to be born in Bharat, which has given to the world this entire science of yoga, and not one particular way only. In yoga, as I said, so many different ways are there for you to discover your temperament and then follow that particular path to realize the truth. We are the inheritors of that great legacy. We don't know what we have. We need to get into that. Suppose somebody says that, there is a great treasure hidden in your house. What will you think? Will you think, हाँ ठीक है, one of the days I will search it, or will you say, I want to go and immediately search?
I'll be like, Abhi, I'll leave everything and just go.
Exactly. So we have such great treasure through our scriptures, through our great masters, through the culture that we have. Wonderful treasure we have, and we are saying, nay, nay, right now I'm running in the world outside. I will get some temporary pleasure. I will eat some chaat. I will go to watch some movie. I will drink and dance. I will do this, that. And finally, at the end of life, when I'm ready to die, that time I will start digging the treasure. What are we doing? As a youth, if you are asking me, then we should do this. There is a deep treasure in my heart, and there is a treasure of knowledge which will help me, the treasure of scripture which will help me to discover that in my heart. I should prioritize it. And so that if I start doing, then slowly that yoga day, from this yoga day to the next yoga day, how have I lived a yogic way of life, remaining where I am? That is the main contribution, main thing that I need to do tomorrow, so that I can measure my progress in 1 year's time. How much has my mind really integrated, my body, mind, intellect, how much is has integrated? How much have I come closer to who am I truly? Then yoga day has served its purpose. Otherwise, one will just do some asanas and put it up for pictures. That is of not much consequence.
Our title today is Living the Yogic Way of Life. So, you know how our schedules are, how our routines are. So, in a summarized form, as you have told, we should sleep early and we should sleep early and also get up early. What else we can include? Some basic things we can include in our schedule slowly, slowly, so that we reach that point where we can understand. We deserve. Actually, one more thing I realized that we don't deserve to know this knowledge. It's so easily given to us. That's why we take it for granted. And from outside world, people come and learn and everything, but we are taking it for granted because it's easily available to us, and that is what. So I just wanted to ask you that we should deserve this knowledge. So to deserve this knowledge, what basic changes we should make in our daily life so that we have a yogic way of life?
See, a yogic way of life is a life which is oriented towards knowing my true nature, one. And for that, Sattva Guna is the most important. In the Gita, Bhagavan says, Nitya Sattvastaha Bhava. Be anchored in Sattva Guna. If this one instruction we take, we will become ready for yoga. In my food, how much sattvic food I can include. I am not saying don't at all eat anything which is rajasic, tamasic. Not possible at the moment, no problem. As much sattvic food as I can include, that much better. What yoga says about how to eat food, eat with mindfulness, eat chewing it properly, eat with a full awareness, and pray before you eat the food and connect to the food as a divine expression of Bhagwan himself. So make every single act of ours as a how a yogi would live. And a yogi doesn't mean somebody who has gone into the forest and living. Yogi means one who lives with integration. So can I eat food that way? Am I able to speak that way? In the Gita, Bhagavan gives this Satyam Vada, Priyam Vada, Hitam Vada. Speak the truth, speak politely, speak for the benefit. So, speech level, can I be like a yogi who speaks with this awareness? Today, how many young people think it is very cool to use abusive words, slang words. Not That's not the good use of the speech. Our speech has such tremendous power. In fact, if you see Shankaracharya ji, he writes in Vivek Chudamani, Yogasya Prathama Dwaraha Vang Nirodha iti uchyate. In Vivek Chudamani, he says, the first step of yoga is control your speech. So can I speak in a polite way, positive way, inspiring way, encouraging way? Then I am living a yogic way of life. In my interactions, if I am able to be as genuine and selfless and loving, then I am living a yogic way. Today, people are not very genuine. They put up such false masks. They hide behind, pretensions, imitation, and they do flattery. So, if I'm genuine, obviously, genuine doesn't mean that I open up everyone to everybody, everything about my life. But I'm genuinely interested in their welfare, and I'm genuine about who I am. I'm not pretending. Then I'm living a yogic way of life where in relationships I become genuine. I really want welfare of others. When we say Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, one means that okay, I will live in a way where I work for the happiness of everybody, including I, myself. Then that is a yogic way of life. And spend some time in the day for definitely doing these three things. One, do certain practices, whether it is asanas, pranayam, mantra japa. One. Two, study the scripture. If I can't do on a daily basis, at least 3 times a week I should do. Study the scripture because that is the source and that is what will give us the anchoring. And three, surrender to Bhagavan. Understand very clearly that finally all yoga is meant for only that. What is my connect with the divine? Whichever path I follow, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raj Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, whichever path I follow, What is my connect to the divine? On a regular basis, I need to do that. If I don't do that, then whatever I may do, I am not fulfilling the purpose. But if I do that one thing where I surrender to Bhagwan and I understand this is my connect with the divine and I spend time every day connecting to the divine, everything else will get added. So these are few things that one can do as a yogic way. Our scriptures have given what you can do right from the morning till the end,
Yeah.
till the night. Every single moment, how I can be connected to the divine. When I wake up, I remember the divine. When I take bath, I remember the divine. When I eat food, I remember the divine. When I work, I remember the divine. When I light a lamp, I remember the divine. I study, I remember the divine. I sleep, then I seek forgiveness and gratitude, and then I remember the divine. So to be connected to the divine is yoga, and that is the yogic way of life. So
So
through
when we
all these
connect
methods, I
with
can do.
when we connect with the divine, then surrender will come naturally, because
Yes.
I feel there is no method behind surrender. I think the remembrance is the only way.
Yeah, remembrance, and whichever way you remember, whether it's through meditation, through bhajan, through stotram, through mantra japa, whatever way, in that remembrance, I should forget myself. That is the most important aspect. The small I one should forget, and Bhagwan alone remains. That is yoga. Then I've united with Bhagwan.
So when we are interacting with the people, we should think that we are just seeing divine in so many forms. That awareness should be there.
Yeah.
And
That awareness should be
that,
there, and then appropriate roles, what has to be done, will be done.
Swamiji, I think we should deal with the
Yeah.
questions. If
Some questions must have come. Take it up. What are those questions? Let me know.
oh, today was just wishing you Hari Om Swamiji, Sadha Charan Sparsh. How are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm doing well only. So there are no specific question that have come yet, right?
Yeah, I
How
have one more.
to remove knee pain through yoga, please? So I am not an expert in that asana and physical cure, etc. I'm from Vedant background. So specifically, you want to know about knee pain, you have to consult some experts on that.
Swamiji, I have two questions.
Okay, go ahead.
So one is that how do I know? So you have told me how should we include how should we live the yogic way of life. Now, how do I know that? Like, how do I know my progress? Uh,
Progress in yoga is understood when the mind has become quieter. Because if the goal which is set up is yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, then to the extent that the mind has become quieter, that is a progress one. To the extent the cravings have reduced for sense enjoyments and one is more peaceful within, that is the second aspect. So the senses are more in control and the extrovertedness has reduced. The restlessness of the mind has also reduced. One is able to sit quietly without getting disturbed. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, or this many things are to be done, no, I need to move out. No, if one has decided that 20 minutes I need to sit, then mind is able to remain in that and then one is able to take up whatever work is to be done. So these are three things that Gita says. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasu anushajyate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudhas tadochyate. Then the person has mastered the mind, yoga rudha that person is called. When these three are there, na indriyartheshu, one is not attached to sense objects, one is not restless for work, and one is not fancifully imagining that, because when one has withdrawn the mind from external perception, then one may start imagining sense enjoyment. new ways of enjoying and living it through the mind, saying ki at least I'm not indulging physically, I am doing it only mentally. So mind can get into that rut, you know. So when these three are not there, then that person has mastered. And then what will that person do? That person is able to think of the self. So fourth step is that, ki, am I able to think of Bhagwan, think of self, contemplate on it steadily? Then that means I'm progressing on the path of yoga. So there is one question that has come here. Some people say Hanumanji gave us Surya Namaskar. He did the set of postures as a sign of surrender to Surya Devata so that he accepts Hanumanji as his Shishya and forgives him for eating him during childhood. How true is this? These days circulating on YouTube. I am hearing this for the first time. I have not heard about this before, nor have I come across any valid scriptural source which is speaking about this in terms of Valmiki Ramayana doesn't say this, Tulsi Ramayana doesn't say this, and Adhyatma Ramayana doesn't say this. If this is there in some other version of Ramayana, I am not aware of it, but I have not heard this at all. And from what I know, the various postures which are given in different other yoga shastras, from there the Surya Namaskar or the Chandra Namaskar, both the positions have been brought out by certain people recently. Like I said, the Raja found he did that, and then various other yoga teachers have followed that tradition. I don't know of any other source in my limited understanding, but this definitely I have not come across, that Hanumanji formed these. This I have not come across. One more question is here. Is Dvesha Shakti in any form? I have read somewhere. Is it true? And if so, then in which form? See, both Raga and Dvesha, they are the modifications of the mind. And mind is energy. Mind is thought. Every single thought that we think is energy. There is no doubt. Even they say, right, every single thought the brain is able to think, there is a electrical charge and there is a firing that happens in the brain. So Raga and Dvesha also are tremendous energy powers. They are sources of energy. That's why if you neutralize it, then it helps to channelize the mind in the higher direction. Otherwise, it is occupied with the attachments, which is Raga, and aversion, which is Dvesha. All the vikaras, in fact, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, they are power only. They are mental power. They are mental modifications, which are also the same way we see the positive aspects. So all the good qualities and the values and positive thoughts, inspiring thoughts, they are also energy only. So it is mind itself is matter. It is jada vastu. So it is energy and matter in certain form is what we call as the mind. And so it is true that it is energy and subtler energy. So we say it is made up of 5 subtle elements. That is how the mind is made up of 5 subtle elements. And then further it gets attached to people, things, situations, which is gross, and then it creates attachment and aversion.
Why am I not able to see those questions, Swamiji?
You have to scroll up because
I'm
those questions are
scrolling,
up.
it's not coming.
Doesn't matter.
So just one question left of mine.
Okay, go ahead.
What is the Vedantic point of view, like the philosophical aspect of yoga? I want to know about that.
Come back again. What is the philosophy?
Vedantic point of view, philosophical, like Vedanta is of our Indian
Uh,
philosophy.
uh,
What is its view about yoga and all that? Like, how can we connect our, like, both of these things?
Vedanta also is in that sense telling us to unite with the self. Upanishads speak about yoga in the same light as the yoga shastra in terms of the darshan shastra. So Vedant also is one of the Shad darshanas. When we say Uttar Mimamsa, that is Vedant. So there is Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa. These are 6 darshanas, 6 schools of philosophy. Vedant is the Uttar Mimamsa. The goal of both yoga and Vedanta, in that sense, is to realize the truth. And so it is the same, just the method is little different. Here it is more will oriented, as well as through the control of the breath and the asanas, etc. One is coming to that through dharana, dhyan, etc. And here in Vedanta, it is by understanding, by doing atma anatma vivek, and detaching from the anatma and asserting the atma through shravan mana nididhyasan, one will come to that. The purpose is finally the same in both, because even in the Gita you will find that is what yoga is. When Krishna Bhagavan defines yoga in different ways, so he says this um, dukkha samyoga viyoga yoga samnitam. Yoga is a divorce from our wedlock to sorrow, which means we have got attached to the body, mind, intellect, and so we are feeling ourselves as this jiva, and then we are feeling miserable. To detach from that, tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyoga yoga samnitam. In the 6th chapter, Bhagavan says that to detach from who I am not and to attach to the self is the purpose of yoga. And in fact, he goes on to say in the 6th chapter that uh, तपस्विभ्योऽधिको योगी ज्ञानिभ्योऽपि मतोऽधिकः कर्मिभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्माद् योगी भवार्जुन. Arjun, you become a yogi. There, if the word yogi means a person who is doing contemplation to realize the self, he says that person is greater than tapasvi, who is just doing lot of austerity but has not the clarity that who I am truly. Tapasvibhyotiko yogi. Jnanibhyopi matodhika. Even scholarly knowledge somebody may have, but is not putting in the effort to realize the self. Then the Jnani also in that context, that scholar is lesser. Karmibhyas Chadiko yogi. He says somebody who's doing a lot of karma, rituals, actions, and even social service, all that. That person is no doubt purifying the mind, but still the yogi who is trying to know the self is the greatest. And Bhagavan says, you be that yogi. Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So that is what Vedanta says. You become a yogi, meaning you realize the self.
In Gita, Swamiji, there are three paths given: Gyan Marg, Bhakti Marg, and uh, Karma.
Karma.
That marg. So, Karma Marg. So, is this marg different from all these three, or like, is it a
Yoga
part of
Shastra's
them?
marg is a specific marg, as I said, in terms of 8 steps. That way, there is a specific marg clearly. And in the Gita also, Bhagavan speaks about that when he speaks about the 12 yajnas in the 4th chapter. So, in that sense, Ashtanga Yoga is there in the 4th chapter. As a path, yes, all the four have their own uniqueness, but they are not mutually exclusive. They are very closely connected also, and each one includes the other also in some ways.
So, do you think that all of them should go hand in hand? Like, I'm studying Vedanta, but still, I should follow the path of yoga. That's like,
Yeah, it can go hand in hand, no doubt, but it's not necessary. It has to go hand in hand. You can go hand in hand. And Aurobindo used to call it as integral yoga, and Gurudev also used to recommend that in some ways. Ki integral yoga meaning what? So in the morning, I spend some time doing my yama, niyam, asan, pranayam, those practices, and then I spend some time remembering Bhagwan. So I'm practicing yoga, I'm practicing bhakti. Then through the day I do karma yoga, and evening I come back home and I read at least a few pages of the scriptures and I try to reflect on the meaning. In that way, I'm integrating karma, bhakti, jnana, raja, all these four yogas, and I'm an integral yogi, and that's the yogic way of life. Because all of us have a body, mind, and intellect. There's no doubt. So if I want to combine all this, I can combine. But if I feel I'm predominantly emotion oriented and I want to follow Bhakti Marg fully, then go ahead with that. Like Ramakrishna, Mirabai, they have not practiced that way all the four yogas in its completeness. They followed one path and they attained. Vivekananda ji, Gurudev, they followed one path. Tapan Maharaj, they followed the path of Jnana Yoga in that sense. Not that they have not done pranayama, etc. Tapan Maharaj used to do. Vivekananda ji also has done, no doubt. But the main path they have chosen is I am a Jnana Margi, I am a Bhakti Margi. Somebody says I am a Karma Margi. So full seva they will do with the bhav I am doing worship of Bhagavan. So you can choose predominantly your path and then realize the truth. And if you like to combine other elements, happily one can do.
So we have so many marks which we don't know about, other than Gyan Marg, Bhakti Marg, and all that. We have other marg also.
Main four are these only.
Yeah,
Then there
main
are
four.
others which you can come under these four only, they will come mostly. I'm talking about Sanatana Dharma traditions.
Okay. So, Swamiji, what is your personal experience about yoga? Like, do you practice
So I have
yoga?
learned yoga in my days in my college. I have learned yoga as a proper science. I have also learned asanas, pranayams, and I did practice for quite some time. And now, even now, I do practice some of them in terms of pranayam, etc. Um, if you say in the formal structure sense of the word yoga as Ashtanga yoga, that I have learned. I have gone through Bhav Samadhi training and many such courses also, and followed a certain way of life in a certain stage of my life. And then I then that is what has inspired me also. And then of course I've come on to the path of Vedant, and then I'm following that path of Jnana Yoga. And yes, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all combined at the moment. Serve the society, worship Bhagavan, learn the knowledge of the self, and share with everybody, reflect. So that way I follow the journey of yoga, and for me that is what has played a big role to make the best of my life, and I feel happy and satisfied with that.
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for sharing your personal experience.
So Ananta has asked another question here. So many people practice beer yoga, hot yoga, saying we are growing healthier, more alive, weight reduced. How do we explain them that this is harmful in the long run? Also, are there researches which we can give them? There will be researches, of course. What is the harmful effect of all these things that they are consuming? That will be there. You can always take that and share. And more one makes them aware of the deeper purpose, and is this taking you closer to that, and the discussion when it is done, then possibly if they are open to it they will understand. Because finally if they are only wanting to focus on weight loss and becoming more alive in that sense of just bhoga vritti and enjoyment, then time has to come for them yet. At the right time they will understand. One can only expose them to this knowledge and make them aware. Beyond that, it is up to them how much they take it, and in time, as they mature enough through life, they will understand, and they will also come to the deeper purposes.
So sometimes while practicing yoga, Swamiji, I feel like people are forgetting the purpose behind it. I feel
Yeah,
that is the reason they are getting diverted.
correct. These days, there is a trend of yoga retreats with a sattvic diet menu and resort stays. Are they really helpful or just hypes? No, it will help, no? See, if one is really doing it well with the Vedic principles, and also genuinely that sattvic food is there, and then certain yogic practices, and then meditations, and quietening of the mind, and certain philosophical discussions also are held, it will definitely help, and it at least gives an insight what this way of life means. And if they continue that, even a few things from that, and they will see the sustained benefit of it, and the lifestyle changes if they are made. Because today many diseases are all psychosomatic diseases, and also born because of certain lifestyle which one is leading. So if one is able to undo those lifestyle limitations and come to a good lifestyle, then definitely it will help. We can't dismiss that saying that no, this is all useless. No, it is not. The intent has to be very clear. If there are people who are just cheating others and trying to make money, then that is not what we are referring to. Vaidik has said, why is it that while meditation one is said to ignore the surrounding and focus inside their body, but then suddenly they are said to focus on surrounding sounds and winds? Why so? See, there are steps, right? If you are on step 1, you can't jump to step 5 and then to step 10. You have to go step 2, step 3, step 4, that way. So ultimately, complete silence of the mind and withdrawal fully from the surroundings as well as the body as well as the breath is what is required. But that cannot happen all of a sudden. So gradual withdrawal has to happen. So when my mind is wandering and is fully anxious into the future, regretting about the past, then I need to bring it to the present. To bring it to the present, a support system is required, which is why then one is told to focus on the sounds nearby, wind is there, or feel the temperature, be aware of the clothes you are wearing, where your foot is on the ground. So be aware of what is happening around you, because we are not in the moment here. Then slowly it will be said you move away from there to your body. Then from the body you move to the breath. From the breath you move to the mind. Then you go beyond the mind. So it is a step-by-step process of withdrawal. It can't happen suddenly if we say, okay, stop thinking about everything else and just focus on the inner silence. How? It will not going to happen, right? So at every step, I have to give a subtler support to let the grosser support go. So if I climb from step 1 to step 2, after I put my foot on step 2, I leave the step 1. Then I put my foot on step 3. Then I leave step 2. Then I put my foot on step 4. So it has to go like that, from grosser to the subtler supports, and then finally no support. Okay, that was Vaidik's question. Then, yes, I think all questions I've covered for now, and wish you all a happy yoga day tomorrow. May we live a yogic way of life, practice yoga in its true sense, and finally align our BMI and discover our true self. May the grace of Bhagwan and Guru Parampara be with us, and may we be what Bhagwan Krishna says, Tasmad Yogi Bhavarjuna. May we be yogis and fulfill the purpose of human life. Thank you, Vijeta. It was nice to have this interaction. Okay,
Thank
one
you
more
so much,
question
Swamiji,
has
for
come.
enlightening us.
How can I bring yoga into my classroom for my little ones? Any method to do this without facing the religious phobia, also making it playful for them? I would say you teach them optionally, because this religious phobia, etc., people are going to have, and then you will have to compromise with the yogic method. So you teach them optionally away from the class, and teach them simple basic breathing. Tell them 5 minutes of focus on the breathing, and teach them to chant Omkar and focus on the sound of Omkar. Basically, two things one can do that would be helpful. Then, as time goes, they will learn more. We'll conclude with our Asatoma prayer.
Asito ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you so
Hari
much,
Om.
Swamiji.
Thank you, everyone.